See how this says 53 degrees positive, because it's not negative, it's just plain keeps fluctuating. This is the water that's coming out the gutter. Above it, which is the air, is 10 degrees. When it drops on something that's alive, this little tiny little baby plant. Circle, circle. So how can it be this when it is inside here? But even still, as I open this out and it's getting more air, it's going down. Now look, -5. This is the 0.0. Look at this spider right here. You have no idea what this spider does. How the webs catch all this energy that is radiating off of things that are... See where it says 0.0? I feel like I'm about to faint right now. But the camera's pointed at this shot spotting thing across the street. Boom, 0.0 by the fire hydrant where all the water is underground and the light, right? But look at it as it goes up. You just keep going up, 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 right? Radial. Now, up here, it gets powered by the sun. So all this old growth and bacteria, everything sits in there, but it sits in the metal. And so by the time the air and everything get to the rainwater to get to the new life and everything, it's good. But when it's up here, and then it blows around or it gets in our atmosphere, that's how come all these trees, everything had a yeast infection that I have been treating. All the different life that people don't see. They don't put it together. Like soil can have a yeast infection and everything that we touch with our feet. Fungi, all type of things, or whatever that humans and animals of different kinds are being affected by. It was all just keep on recirculating. Then Different parts of this collect. Sand acts as gunpowder when it's magnetized by certain things. But sound is the biggest thing. When we just had a thunderstorm, natural resources are everywhere, but they're also just like carbon monoxide, the silent but deadly killer, like geopathic stress that gets into people's bodies and into their houses and everything. And then you think it's one thing, and it's really just something so simple as acknowledging that everything is alive and life supports life. But it's the universal life of the whole that's non-biased. See how this little fly says positive, positive, yellow and white. Boom, because they have 4 legs, which are actually their arms and legs. And then they have wings like birds. But then they crawl like squirrels. But they are a macrocosm doing microcosmic work. Look at this little tiny one, a little baby. They're buzzing. All these animals are doing these things on this meadow because right now the sun is not bright, but it's out. So it's recharging them so that they have vital life force energy that they need. So that way, when it is out, then they can go into the ground. They can fly around and buzz really, 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 really loud, because that is what pays the light bills. That is what translates one person getting up from bed and walking into the shower and putting their clothes on and going to work or whatever the case is for anybody. You would not be able to do that if there wasn't life above you and below you working together in sync for the greatest possible life of all. But if you don't know what these mean, if you just think they're just surface value, they're really not. It's like so much more than that. But everybody has to figure this out in their own unique way. But rocks in Egypt, they knew that salt, white, 1 positive ion. So minerals in rocks could be cracked into another rock, and it's an outlet, and they powered up their whole entire pyramids. But you know how they really move everything is through sound. They utilize storms to move heavy, heavy rocks into place. No people were slaving out here building 1 brick at a time, these pyramids. They utilized the elements and harnessed that energy. Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, cosmic wisdom. They harnessed that and created these structures that weren't just on the outside, the ruins that people see. Like, they had different chambers that had different echolocation so that they could access different states of consciousness, so that they could utilize that for healing, for, whatever situation they wanted to do. But they did nothing because they already knew everything, because everybody's connected to everything. But if you don't see a life, you think that you sleeping in one day is going to just be that. But then you don't know how a whole chain of reactions comes from a choice that maybe you don't even know you made on your own or not. Something else moved you. And you don't really realize that it's because every individual is a pole of electricity, but the environment is a greater pole. A greater pole because it's a natural thing. all the interference and thought waves and everything, whatever that's bouncing around, that is not as powerful as nature. So if you want to know something, if you want to get the truth about something, touch a natural element. And it will let you know exactly what you need and what it needs and what is interfering with the brain, which is a neurological system that mirrors humans, that mirrors all life, because everything at the base is one seed atom that has all of creation in it. But it will only sprout what's going to be best for the individual isolated incident, but also the whole. It's not going to sit here and power, if nobody knows what these weeds are and how powerful they are and how healing and natural they are, why are they going to take up a whole bunch of life force energy to just keep sprouting out here? They're just going to have clovers instead of dandelions because the rabbits eat them and they know exactly what they do. And then that's why this particular field at night is full of rabbits. It's full of life because there's water under here. But it has to make up for the fact that all the things that is going on is killing off all these dragonflies. Dragonflies are what was there to help balance this current that's being bounced off of these unnatural light sources, the buried wires that are toxic as far as chemicals and radioactive things, because nobody tested the rocks and the soil and everything to see that that's what's poisoning everybody. Lead poison comes from what? Mercury. Mercury is how it started. Mercury is in not only the geomagnetic field, but from meteorites, right? That nobody sees from the sky that come, and then they react with water, and then they do different things. But this is a whole trench, like, so all this life that was going on here, like parasites and all these different things, they're trying to basically balance. But like, why would the lights go on in the school in the daytime? Because they know. Even, imitation light knows the real thing from the false thing. So they're going to act accordingly. They're going to shine brighter. They're going to do their job. Now they're going to cut off because they know. You better conserve that. But how can I move something from all the way over here across the street? Enough, because those are motion sensor lights. The sun is still powering. It still is powerful. Just because it doesn't seem like it's shining, it's powering other things. Just like the moon. They're out at the same time. They never go away. Say the hand is quicker than the eye. But you feel something long before you see it. So instead of looking at things on the surface, notice what you feel. Whether it's an irritant or whether it's something that would not be like that. My ears are all itchy and my ankles, and that's how I know exactly what this fungus is right here. But I also know that it's turning into moss. And moss, this is not just any moss. This moss, you can take the bark off of this and boil it. Turn it into a tea. Eat it. Give it to animals. But the natural resources that live in this tree that need to respond to all these unnatural things that are supposed to be protecting us but really are not. Like, it takes a whole a whole system of this moss to grow in this tree to protect it. Everything that goes on inside of the tree to be able to birth life. So that not only the tree, but the animals, everybody, humans can have the things that they need, the protection, the natural resources. But if you don't even see anything, like you don't notice this, or you don't touch it, or you don't, like, if it means nothing to you, then it's going to be like every other tree. Matter of fact, they're going to follow suit though, because they're going to know. But look at how this one, you see, all the way up here, right? They're making holes naturally, right? Because this is an excretion. Okay, this is sugar. These trees bust nuts too, okay? But you know who eats this? You know who needs this nectar? The ants, who power up so much different things, the spiders, all these different things, because these potholes and stuff is geomagnetic stress. But it's also reacting with thunder, with the natural elements that we need to have. Because just like water aerobics, you don't feel the burn, but it's working and it works faster. Nature knows to get the quickest reaction with the littlest amount of energy to not blow anybody up. So if it's a paved street that uses toxic things and heat and oppression and things like that, like, it's gonna come away unnaturally. So maybe they should start thinking about what they're using to pave the streets. Maybe if they use the sand that's already magnetically being charged up and the water, maybe that would be the best alternative, because then you're using the natural elements to do the work instead of paying all these people stuff to keep on repairing stuff, to do whatever, just to keep on paying people for a system that's already failed. That's the truth. But money is paper. Paper is nothing. But the trees that live hold way more information than a piece of paper. That's why all these breaches were happening. They're not really breaches. They're wiping away all the bullshit that is invisible, that was damaging. What is numbers? Numbers is the code to everything. But if you don't know the sound, no matter how much money you have in the bank account on a computer, you're only going to access so much life force that none of the creation is going to be what it could be for everybody. MSG in the food, no. But if the soil, if everything is all contaminated or whatever, it's only going to produce what is being able to be consumed. In jail, they feed you. I had to get my intestine ruptured and I went septic, but I also had to have a gallbladder removed because I had pancreatitis. I don't drink, but the food that they were feeding me in there and everybody else was different than, not different than what I was eating, in the sense that my diet was never the greatest as far as eating organic or anything like that. My grandma, we're poor. We turn nothing into something all the time. So that's how I know that energy responds to energy. Me and my grandma used to eat canned peas. It's not that. It's the fact that at the root, they only try to sustain life for their purpose in there. So the barley, all these things that they're making or whatever to keep you just enough fed, like to be sluggish, but then to be able to not die off of the medicine that they force you to take there. You can't turn down pill call. All of these things react to one another. And so the only time that I took medicine was when I was incarcerated. And the common denominator with all the ladies in Hennepin County Jail who had been there in 6 months, a lady who was 42 at the time had to have her gallbladder emergency removed in jail at HCMC. Now, her commissary was bigger than mine. So at first we thought it was just all the honey buns and my thing was the cream cheese Danish. Strawberry cream cheese Danish. But the funny thing is, I ate them all my life. I grew up eating just from the corner store on Lake Street. Corn dogs, some JoJo's, and a whole bunch of Little Debbie's. So it wasn't that. When we switched, right, to gluten-free diet, right, because they have real meat and real things like that, that's when we started getting better. But I went another year in California to jail, back to back. I was only out for a little bit of time. And after I came home from California, see, their healthcare system was different. It was better. Like, their food was better. Everything was different. But they had a larger population. And they had different things that came in. So they knew how to use the energy. Like, Hennepin County Jail, they wanted to sit down and just be there and not fight and whatever. But in California, their jail was different. They had jail school. They had all these different, like, you worked there. The population was far greater. Like, I was in FMOD in Hennepin County, and, like, there was 12 beds, which is all right, you know. But if you go to A or B, C, H, like in women, on the women, you know, for men it's bigger, but even when it's like 20, 30 people, when they have boats on the floor, it's nothing. But like in California, in their county jail, CRDF, on Alameda. But they had like over 300 people in one little area with 3 tiers. Like, they had 3 bunk beds in their day room. Like, I'm talking about the middle was the coffin, and you had to sit there. Like, if it was something that went down, so you lost privileges. But they have fire camp. They had all these different things that their energy was utilized in a different way. So they weren't just sitting down. They had a healthcare and everything. But they had dogs that came in and walked around, right? Because they knew exactly what energy does. Like, if you got, like, it's way more inmates than it is. So they knew how to keep the peace in a way that utilized energy, but at the same time, you know, their intentions was, the intentions of the school that came in is different than the intentions of the system that set this up, because their system was fucked too. But that's why when I came home, I had to